Indiana basketball could seal the deal with top 10 player Mikel Brown Jr.
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. It is the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. I'm your man, Jacob Goins. I appreciate you being here, making this your first listen, your first watch every single day. A reminder that we are a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by FanDuel. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Thank you so much for being here. Shout out to all of my everydayers, those of you that are here each and every day. Audio, video, doesn't matter. We're just glad that you're here. And a reminder that this show is free to you every single day, Monday through Friday. Well, Indiana is in to see top 10 player Mikel Brown Jr. this week, and he'll be on campus next week. And so I believe that if everything goes well, the Hoosiers can seal the deal with top 10 player, top 10 recruit Mikel Brown Jr. Have that for you today. Plus, Curt Cignetti gave his comments earlier this week after Game 1 for Indiana football, beginning to preview a little bit for Game 2 on Friday night. Remember that the Hoosiers play Friday and not on Saturday. Plus, we'll take a look around the Big Ten. What's going on in the conference looking ahead to Week 2? Well, it's no secret that Mikel Brown Jr. is one of the best players in all of high school basketball. He's a top 10 recruit. Depending on where you look, he could flirt with the top 15, but I think he's top 10, in my opinion, consensus. I think he's just that good. One of the best point guards in the entire country from the state of Florida down in Daytona Beach, originally from Orlando, but he's in Daytona Beach, Florida. And here's the good news. All right, there's a couple of pieces of good news here. He has an official visit scheduled for next weekend. If you're watching this as it comes out, next weekend, September 13th, is when his official visit is set for here in Bloomington, okay? The other good news is that we're heading down to see him on Thursday. All right, we're going to go see him in Florida at Daytona Beach at his high school at DME Academy on Thursday. And so you get to get in there and talk to him a little bit, show the effort, right? Hop on the plane and get down there and say, here we are. Nice to see you. Look at this little trip that we made just to come see you. Oh, we know you're going to be with us next week, but we just wanted to come see you anyway, because today, September 4th, is the day that the fall recruiting period opens. And so coaches can go out and see players at their schools and their homes and things like that. We talked a little bit about that on yesterday's episode. And this entire staff is going to be out and about doing their thing. I know that Mike Woodson's going to be on this trip and this visit. I know a couple of other coaches will be on this visit. Roseman for sure. Walsh may be on this visit too. But, man, this just shows me, this tells me that Indiana's taking the extra step. They're going the extra mile to land the big-time recruits. And some of you may say, well, yeah, isn't that what they're supposed to do? Yeah, you're right. That is what they're supposed to do. But that doesn't mean they always do it, right? Do you do everything that you're supposed to do every single day? I don't. I know I don't. And so yes, it's expected of coaches to do this, but again, doesn't always happen. But this staff knows how important Mikel Brown Jr. is. And I think this staff also understands all of the other programs that are in on this kid, right? Kentucky, Ole Miss, Alabama, teams like that I think are really, really in for it. Kentucky in particular, where we've already lost a recruiting battle once. We really don't want to lose it again. And Mikel Brown Jr. is, as out of all the players that we've talked about in the 2025 class, Mikel Brown Jr. might just be the most impactful, which is wild because there's a lot of great players. But this guy's a 6'3", 165-pound point guard. 6'3", okay? That's crazy. And once he gets to college, you know they're going to beef him up a little bit, probably try to get him to 180 or so. And he's going to be a real threat when he gets to the next level. He already is a superstar. He can shoot it from anywhere. He's not afraid to shoot it from anywhere. He's got a quick trigger, and he can knock it down. And his handles are extremely good. And the thing that sticks out to me, and we did an episode on him a while back for my everydayers, you know that, we broke it down a little bit. He can pass the ball, and he's willing to pass the ball, which is something that has kind of been lost, especially in the high school game, right? Whether it's high school or AAU, you'll see it a little bit more there, maybe, but he's willing to help his teammates, set up his teammates, and get rid of the basketball. I love that from a point guard because guess what? In my opinion, that's what a point guard does. I know point is in their name, but they're running point, right? It's not all about how many points you can score. They are the facilitators. They are the ones that run the offense. And if you watch Mikel Brown play basketball, yeah, he's going to score. He's going to get his. Don't get me wrong. But he's going to find the open teammate. And when he draws the double team because he's that good when he gets in the lane, he'll whip it out to the corner. He'll throw it back behind his head to get it up top. Like, he's not afraid to do those things. And, man, Indiana needs that. We need that desperately to have a player like that who is just better than everybody else and can make the offense better. Mikel Brown Jr. is a guy that makes everybody around him better. I think we have a lot of that on this roster right now. But Mikel Brown Jr. is that guy in the 2025 class. He is that guy in the 2025 class. Braylon Mullins is great. Sisley's great. Reevy's great. All these guys are great. And they would be really good additions to this Indiana team next season. But I think Mikel Brown is the one where he elevates your class and he elevates your program. And I think the Hoosiers could make some waves. I think they could seal the deal with this. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. But the effort is there. Going to see him in Florida this week. He's on campus next weekend. You never know. You very well could seal the deal. And I think we're making progress. And I think that we are going to be right there till the very end, probably with Kentucky and some other big name schools right there at the end for top 10 player in the country in 2025, Mikel Brown Jr. Well, coming up on Locked On Hoosiers, going on the football side, Curt Cignetti talked to us this week about what he thought about week one as Indiana goes 1-0 and starting to look ahead to Western Illinois on Friday night. I'll give you some of my thoughts as well. Then we'll take a look around the Big Ten. That's all coming up on Locked On Hoosiers. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay's Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber and not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay's Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Welcome back into Locked On Hoosiers. Again, thank you so much for being here. I really do appreciate it. We're having a lot of fun over here. I hope you are as well. Best way to support the show that's free to you every single day, just like the video on YouTube. Comment down below. Do you think we get Mikel Brown Jr.? Do you believe that we can get him into Bloomington and playing for Indiana? Let me know in the YouTube comments down below. And then the best way to do it is subscribe to the channel. Hit our logo and hit the subscribe button. Takes 2 seconds, 2 taps, and you'll get notified every time we post a new episode. Same thing on audio. Follow us, turn on notifications. That way you never miss an episode on any of your audio podcasting platforms. Well, Curt Cignetti had some things to say on Monday following Indiana's 1-0 start to the college football season, and This guy's a coach, man. Let me just tell you that right now. Curt Cignetti is a coach. He is never satisfied, always something to fix. He gets a little analytical in here too, and it really just goes to show how detail-oriented Curt Cignetti is, and I absolutely love it. It's so refreshing to hear things like we're going to hear in just a second from Curt Cignetti. And look, I'm excited about the season. I'm excited that we're 1-0, and I'm excited for the opportunity to go 2-0 this weekend when Indiana plays, well, I guess this weekend, Friday night again. Got to remember that. It's weird. I know. It's weird, but Indiana playing Friday night against Western Illinois. But here's some of the things that Cignetti said that stood out to me, okay? Some really, really interesting things. He said, yeah, good performance, a lot of positive things. Offensively strung together 4 straight drives that averaged 75 yards, 11-plus plays, 3 straight touchdowns, and then a field goal. He said the halfback pass, we normally hit that in practice. If we do, it's a touchdown, the one that Indiana missed early in that game. He said, and this is where it gets interesting. He says, quote, had a couple of clunker drives there at the end of the third quarter, fourth quarter. Offensively, penalties, obviously. Yeah. Too many on offense. Got to cut those out. I think we had 7 second and 11 pluses and 6 third and 11 pluses. Some were 17, 21. Things we can teach off tape, obviously, all correctable. So he came in firing right away in his presser, talking about how penalties put this team behind the chains early and often. Second down, third down. He knew the yardages because obviously they had gone back and watched a bunch of film, but he took mental note of those. He understands, sure, week 1, FIU, you can probably get away with it. Hell, you could probably get away with it against Western Illinois this Friday. But you start going on the road to UCLA and you start playing Maryland and Michigan State and Ohio State and Michigan and Purdue. You can't do that in the Big Ten. You cannot get behind the chains that early and that much because you're going to lose football games. And yeah, penalties were a huge part of Indiana's, not their downfall because they won the game and they looked good doing it, but as a team, penalty-wise, you had 9 penalties for 80 yards. That can't happen to only 3 of Western Illinois or of FIU. Come on. You know what I mean? 9 penalties in the opener. Is it expected in the season opener? I guess a little bit. But you got to clean that up because that will not work next week on the road at the Rose Bowl in UCLA. Not going to happen. So you got to clean those up. And I'm really glad that Cignetti talked about that. He also, this really got me too, in a game that was out of hand, in a game that Indiana had control of the entire way. He says, quote, we didn't finish the second half the way we want to finish the second half. That's always a point of emphasis. We did start the third quarter by stopping them and driving down the field. We ended up kicking a field goal. Should have scored a touchdown, is what Curt Cignetti says. Never satisfied. Never good enough. And it won't always be that way, I don't think. And that can be demoralizing at times in life, in football, whatever the case may be, right? That can be, have you ever had that type of a boss where they're never satisfied? It's never good enough and you just want to rip your hair out sometimes? Trust me, I get it. But this is a little bit different. This is a guy who's coming into a broken program and he's trying to make fixes right now. And he's got a vision. He has a path. He has a game plan. And it's things like this that make him so great. Yeah, sure. We won 31-7, but we started the second half okay, didn't get what we wanted, and we didn't finish the game like we wanted to. Going back to when you're in bigger game situations, you've got to be prepared and be ready. If you coach hard in these games, you won't have to get ready and coach hard in those games because you'll already be there. You'll already have gone through that, right? You won't have to prepare during the game, or you won't have to go through that coaching moment and it could cost you the game. If you could do it right now, then you might win the game because of one of these things down the road. So it's those that really stood out to me on what Cignetti had to say. He goes on to talk about Curtis Rourke. The quarterback said he played pretty well, and I'd say so. I'd say Curtis Rourke played pretty well, 15 to 24, 180 yards and a touchdown. Did what he had to do. Missed a couple of assignments, and I think receivers missed a couple of assignments on their side as well. And good thing is Coach Tino cleaned those up. We'll be good to go, is what Cignetti said in terms of the offense. And yeah, that defense balled out, man. They played really, really good. Gang tackling was phenomenal, in my opinion. They were always at the football. And Cignetti admitted too in here. I got to go in here and find it. Here we go. They asked him a question about the tackling on defense. He said, we did tackle well. We swarmed, had multiple hats. We did not tackle in fall camp and only once in the spring. There you go. So a lot to build on. So think about that for a second. Think about that. This team, throughout all their practices leading up to the season opener, they went fully live tackling one time. And for this team to tackle as well as they did on Saturday, very, very impressive. I don't care that it's FIU. Doesn't matter to me. That's really impressive. That's really, really good. Aiden Fisher had a phenomenal game. A couple of guys on the defensive side as well played really, really well. Isaiah Jones played well on the linebacker spot. So overall, I think it was an impressive win. I think you got a lot out of week one. There's still question marks. Sure. There are still things to clean up and fix. Absolutely. I'd like to see the offense be more effective for 4 quarters. I'd love to see the penalties get cut out of there. But man, if that defense plays like they played, Indiana's going to win some ball games. They're at least going to be in the ball games this year. Running attack was good. Cignetti goes on to talk about how they want to play 3 guys and keep them fresh. I think the Hoosiers can do that this year. You had big runs, you had effective runs, you had a little bit of everything on Saturday from the Indiana running game. I mean, Tyson Lawton and Justice Ellison did most of the carries, but you also had Elijah Green with the huge bust off for 50-yarders. So you have those 3 guys that keep churning the legs, you're good to go. You also got a lot of bodies in on week one, which Cignetti talked about as well, which that's what you always look for. And you hope that you can do that again this week. Now, we'll have more on this tomorrow and on Friday's show here on Locked on Hoosiers, but just be prepared. It's a Western Illinois team that is on a historic losing streak. They haven't won in a while, and just keep that in mind. Doesn't mean we can go in complacent. Does not mean we can go in thinking we're going to drum them, because we know how that story goes sometimes. More on that later in the week. Overall, I'm impressed after week one. I think Cignetti's impressed after week one. I'm curious on how you feel, though. Your thoughts on Indiana starting 1-0, 31-7 over FIU. Drop your thoughts down in the YouTube comments below. Well, coming up in our final segment on Locked on Hoosiers, taking a look around the Big Ten. What happened a week ago? What's coming up this week as well? Where does Indiana fit in all of that? We'll have that for you in our final segment on Locked on Hoosiers. Today's episode of Locked on Hoosiers is brought to you by FanDuel. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, right? It's America's #1 sports book. Of course, we're going to talk about it. And we've got something a little bit different for you. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet just $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. I'm excited about the NFL starting. I cannot wait for the NFL to start. You've got it Thursday night, Friday night, all day Sunday, and I have Sunday Ticket. It's phenomenal. And you can get it for betting $5 and you'll get a 3-week free trial through FanDuel. So what are you waiting for? Then with the YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. If you're a Raiders fan, if you're a Chargers fan, if you're a Seahawks fan, if you're a Giants fan, doesn't matter. You can watch all the games with NFL Sunday Ticket. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel at any time. So visit FanDuel.com to download America's #1 sportsbook. Bet $5, and they're going to give you a 3-week free trial thanks to FanDuel. Final segment on Locked on Hoosiers. Thank you again for being here. Appreciate you all having so much fun on the middle of the week here on Locked On Hoosiers. Let's look around the Big Ten, huh? What happened in this conference in week one? Believe it or not, it was actually a pretty impressive week one for this conference as we expanded this year. First full week of our expanded conference. And overall, I think we did fairly well. I believe we only lost the one game, and it was Minnesota to North Carolina, and they had a chance to win it. They just missed a field goal at the end. And shout out North Carolina, man. Losing your quarterback week one, that's brutal. Max Johnson, the Texas A&M transfer. Hate to see that. Rutgers took down Howard. Illinois beat Eastern Illinois. Michigan State looked ugly. Sorry, Matt. Looked ugly against Florida Atlantic. Hey, go jump into Locked On Spartans and tell them that I sent you over there. Go give them a little crap. Wisconsin beats Western Michigan. Didn't look good doing it, though. And remember, that's a Wisconsin team that has Alabama coming to town next week there in Madison. Ohio State finally woke up. I don't know what the heck happened there. They finally got going. They win 52-6. Oregon, yikes, disgusting. They look terrible against Idaho. And coming out on tomorrow, tomorrow on the show, not a normal episode, but our weekly Big Ten crossover episode with all of the Big Ten Locked On guys. Yeah, we jumped all over Spencer of Locked On Ducks because 24-14 against Idaho. What are we doing, Oregon? That's your first game with the Big Ten patch on your jersey. Oh, terrible representation in week one. Penn State, after crazy weather delays, they go on and beat West Virginia 34-12. Michigan did not look good against Fresno State, 30-10 final score there. Iowa, for the first time, I think ever, scored 40 points in a football game. Yes, it was Illinois State, but defense still looked good as always. Maryland took down UConn, who, by the way, in case you didn't see, they're in talks with the Big 12. UConn is, so that's kind of interesting. Purdue actually looked pretty solid. I got to catch a few plays here and there. Didn't get a chance to watch the whole thing, but Purdue looked pretty good, 49-0. Nebraska took down UTEP. Northwestern in their really cool stadium. I was hating on it early. I was, because I didn't know what it would look like with some people in there, but it looked pretty cool. I'll give them credit. Didn't really help them a whole lot, though. They only beat Miami 13-6. That's Miami of Ohio, by the way. UCLA, a team that Indiana goes to next week, had to come from behind late in the game and beat Hawaii on the road. Gross. I'm feeling much better about us having to go to UCLA, aren't you? I think so. I was given some words to the Locked On UCLA guy coming up tomorrow, so be sure you stick around for that. Washington takes down Weber State 35-3, and USC, I can't believe it. I picked LSU. USC comes out and beats the Bayou Bengals on Sunday night 27-20. Overall, it was a fine week for the Big Ten. Fine. Your big dogs didn't look good, Ohio State and Oregon. Some of your middle-of-the-pack team, Michigan, didn't look good either. Some of your middle-of-the-pack teams, right, Wisconsin's and Minnesota's of the world, they looked okay. And then some of us near the bottom that have work to do, we look pretty solid. So overall, a successful week. And you look ahead to what's coming this week, it's highlighted, of course, by Michigan hosting Texas in the Big House. It's going to be a really, really fun atmosphere. I don't feel good for Michigan, though. I'll be honest with you, don't feel good for Michigan. A couple of Big Ten games, actually, on Friday night. Yes, we play Friday night against Western Illinois, but Northwestern plays Duke. I don't know what to think about the Duke game for Northwestern. Northwestern favored in that game? Holy smokes. Okay. Texas, Michigan. Yeah. You've got Iowa State, Iowa this week, week 2. That's kind of crazy. Michigan State, Maryland kick off Big Ten play. Kansas comes to town to take on Illinois. Colorado, Nebraska. Really fun game. That's old school right there. That'll be a lot of fun. Boise State and Oregon. So overall, couple of nice games. Big Ten needs to get some nice wins, though. They need to bounce back and remind people that this is still one of the best conferences in college football. Then next week is when it all ramps up. If I had to put Indiana somewhere in the conference right now, I mean, yes, it's still probably bottom third. just because there's a lot of football left. And we're going to see some separation this year. You're going to see teams at the way bottom, Northwestern. You're going to see some teams, I would think, at the way top, Ohio State, Oregon. They'll figure it out. They'll be fine. Everybody else, though, who knows? I think it's going to be a crapshoot. I really, really do. And I think Indiana could find themselves in the mix. I don't care what anybody else says. We're confident right now in Bloomington. And why shouldn't we be? Cignetti's here. He's doing the right things. And there's some serious talent on this football team. I'm excited to dive deeper into Western Illinois. We'll have more for you on that tomorrow's show and on Friday's show as well. So be sure that you stick around. Check those out right here on Locked On Hoosiers. Well, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers. I thank you so much for being here, man. Thank you. You are the reason this show is doing so well. Audio listeners, I see you and I hear you. Be sure you subscribe if you can, follow if you can, turn on those notifications so you can be a part of the show every single day. All my people on YouTube watching on the video side, like the video, comment down below. What's the final score for week 2 and for Indiana? And can Michigan upset Texas at home? They're the underdog at home for the first time since like 2017, I think, for Michigan. Can they do it? Can they take down Texas and represent the Big Ten? Let me know down below in the YouTube comments. And then, of course, as always, subscribe to the channel. It's free, it's easy, and it helps us help you, or I guess you are helping us. Yeah, something like that. It's a free show, man. We're just happy to be here and hoping that you'll help us out a little bit, okay? We will be back tomorrow, Hoosier fans. So until then, stay safe, and I'll talk to you later.